That's good. That's a good way. All right, Jackie, let's see if we're giving away $220. I'm gonna make $200.
Pretty good one, Gene.
Go around for a big square one.
He's a square too.
Oh,
Everything's
well,
square.
That's cheap.
Yeah, no, he never gets hit, so it's not working. That's right. That's rectangle.
Jasenia.
Oh, she's on. Oh,
Is she on? Yay, Mr.
She's
Singh
on.
got 220.
Well, let me, I'll find it.
Split it.
I know, square card guys.
Is
That's what you're reaching.
Jessica is online, Jessica. Oh, Jasenia, sorry, Jasenia, not Jessica. Jasenia Navarro. And so lots of good things happening in Jasenia's life. So that's awesome. Very good. Okay, so this morning, I'm not going to waste any time because Chris has got all kinds of good info for us. He's going to be talking about buyer negotiations. Chris is one of the best at getting his offers accepted. And so he's going to share what he does, what his strategies are to get offers accepted. Take it away, Chris.
All right. This is my round. This is what I love. And this is one of my favorite parts.
Can we
You
see
get to be
Chris?
creative and stuff, but okay, so we'll get into
Where's Chris? Hang on, we got to get there.
what?
Oh, let me figure out where you're gonna be. So I can get you gotta stay station. Oh, now you're in the camera.
But I was like, I can't.
Stay in that round.
Stay kinda right there.
Or, this chair.
Stay in that corner.
That's your corner.
Come a little, we can't see your handsome
I put a
face.
bungee cord on. What do I do with my hands?
Next slide, please.
Okay.
Okay, so the first part of buyer negotiation starts way before you find a house. It starts at the very beginning with the pre-qual. So too often have I talked to an agent, sometimes that wrote an offer on one of my listings, and I'll ask a couple basic questions, and that agent can't even tell me basic stuff about that buyer. Okay, so part of, you have to be confident and know exactly what your strategy is before you ever even start looking at houses. You have to have everything lined out ahead of time. What you're trying to do is put yourself in the best position to win from the very, very beginning. It's all about winning. You have to win. You want to win. Your buyers are hiring you as the realtor because they want to win. They want a house. They want to accomplish what they want to accomplish, right? So you have to know the ins and outs of every client is different. Every client is unique and different. The situation is different. The need is different. Their ability is different. So every time you have to assess at the very beginning, from the time that they are pre-qualified, you need to know every detail about that pre-qualification, about that buyer that you can, because you have to imagine the scenario ahead of time of what's going to put you in the best position to get an offer accepted. You have to envision this, and you can't envision it if you don't know crap about the buyer. Okay, so the first thing you want to know, what type of loan is it? You know, you're talking to the lender. If the lender tells you that, you know, the lender is usually going to give you some feedback. Oh, credit score was really great. Their debt to income is really low. He's going to give you some information and tell you what they're capable of. And this is the stuff that you need to know. Okay, is it FHA, VA, conventional? Okay, if it's conventional, right off the bat, feeling good. We know they got good credit score. They probably have some money to put down, right? And if this is the route they're going to go when you write your offer, you already know in your head, hey, I'm already going to have a little bit of an edge with, like, if I have the exact same offer as an FHA, I'm going to have some sort of a little edge with a conventional. Okay, so right off the bat, you're putting in your mind the leverage points that you're going to have with this buyer. You're going to accumulate all the leverage points that you possibly can. So type of loan, Okay, conventional, down payment assistance, are they using a program? Maybe it's FHA, are they using a program, are they not using a program? That's gonna tell you, okay, they don't have money, right? They have limited money, so you're gonna probe. If you're doing down payment assistance, then obviously your next question is gonna be, how much money do they have? Have you verified their assets to see how much money they have to play with? What do we got to play with here? Maybe they do have enough money, but they wanna keep it in their pocket, right? We're trying to identify all that. How much cash to close? If they tell you, you talk to the lender and the lender's like, we're going FHA, we're doing down payment assistance, and we've got 20,000 to play with still. That's beautiful. Why is that beautiful? Because I know that if they have down payment assistance, we don't need the 3.5%. Now I have 20,000 to go towards closing costs. Now we're rocking and rolling, baby. I'm already feeling great. I almost don't need to hear anything else from the lender. Like, that's great. Okay, concessions needed from seller. Maybe we're doing down payment assistance. Maybe they got $5,000 in their pocket. I've heard some buyers come to me that have 5 or 6 grand, and they were previously told by the last realtor that they spoke to, can't do anything for you. Why can't you do anything for them? Absolutely, you could do something for them. You need more information, but that's not enough to say you can't work with this person, right? $5,000, $6,000, okay, well, what if they qualify for down payment assistance? What if their debt to income ratio is pretty good? What if they, what if I'm able to get 3% from the seller? All of a sudden, that $5,000, we can make a deal happen. But we need to identify, what is the buyer capable of? How much do they qualify for? Where's their max at? Okay, where's their max at? I want to know where that is. If they're conventional and they've got money. My next question is, do you think that, how much will you go 20% down? Is it 25% down? What do you think we can do? You know, where's their credit score at as far, like I'm talking to the lender about this. Do you think we'll be able to get an appraisal waiver if we request one on a property? You know, he's not gonna be able to say, yes, for sure, we can get an appraisal waiver, but he or she may be able to tell you, oh, there's a decent chance. That's something that we can really look at. There's a decent chance. So in that situation, an appraisal waiver is gonna shave off probably 10 days of your escrow period. It's gonna save your client a little bit of money from the appraisal, maybe $900, $800, $1,000, whatever it is. And it's gonna make your offer way stronger. Not having to worry about an appraisal, we're gonna save some time. I can shorten the days of the escrow. Like, these are capabilities that this buyer could do, right? Contingent, the obvious one. Go ahead.
Question about that. How long does it take? Because you have to have a property. The lender has to plug in the property address to see if they can get an appraisal waiver, correct?
Yes.
How many days does it take? Is it immediately once you get an accepted offer? Or can you see if they qualify for an appraisal waiver before you submit the offer?
Before they submit the offer, it's instant. So what'll happen if the lender can take the address, apply in the system for an appraisal waiver, it's an automated system decision. They plug it in with the amount down, the 20% down or whatever. Sometimes they'll tell you, we can't get it at 20, but at 25, we can get it. I've got one in escrow right now.
But you can know that, so that way when you're making your offer, you can say we have an appraisal.
Absolutely. You don't want to wait until it would be foolish to not find this out before you write your offer, because if you're in a multiple offer situation, you're trying to do everything you can to make this offer as strong as possible, and you have this ace in your back pocket of an appraisal waiver, and you're going to write your offer ahead of time without having that valuable piece of information, you definitely want to know that. Now, you want to know that if it's necessary, right? If there's no offers on it, if there's not a lot of activity, you've talked to the agent, they're pretty motivated, like maybe you don't even have to pull that card, you know, unless maybe you're coming in a little bit low and you're trying to grasp for something to make your offer better, just so that they'll consider a lower offer or consider closing costs or something like that. So here's an example where that would be really great. A house has been sitting on the market a little while. I have a client that's got money, but they really want to keep as much money in their pocket as possible. So or maybe not that, maybe they're just trying to always get a deal, right? They're always trying to get a deal. Like, so you'll get a client where they can have this price could be underlisted and they'll still be wanting to try to get a deal. They don't understand it's a deal, you know? So sometimes you get those clients. This is a way, if they're gonna be coming in lower, you can convince this buyer, hey, you're coming in lower, look, if there's a way to do it, I'm gonna do it. So, but we're gonna need to supplement some other things that, you know, to give you a better chance at getting that deal that you want, okay? Here's an idea for you, Mr. Buyer. What if we come in a little bit low, or maybe we're asking closing costs? And we do an appraisal waiver, we can shave off some time of the escrow period, we don't have to mess with the appraisal, it'll save you money. Sometimes they'll bite back and be like, well, shouldn't I get one so that I know the value is gonna be good? That's valid, right? You can say, yes, absolutely, if that's what you wanna do, that's cool, I'm just letting you know your options.
Right.
This, through the seller's eyes, is gonna make them, there's more of a chance that they're going to be considering a lower offer if they know, oh, yeah, we're getting a lower offer, but we're shaving off a little bit of time on our escrow, we're not having to mess with an appraisal, and, you know, so you can use it to your advantage, but you have to understand the capability of what your buyer is able to do. The incapability or the capability, like, you need to understand their limitations and their, what they can do with the offer, so that's the most important thing, at the very beginning, before you show a single house. You know, before you've gotten too far into anything, at the very beginning, you have to understand everything about this buyer's qualification. So you know, and you can envision in your mind, because this is gonna set the stage, this is the foundation of this buyer buying a house. This is the foundation of accomplishing it. Okay, if they don't have money, if they've only got 5,000. And they do qualify for down payment assistance. And you know that you have to get a seller credit. Probably it's a good idea to let your buyer know that something that hits the market brand new, that is perfect and all this stuff, if you love it, probably other people are gonna love it. Probably the first thing that's gonna be negotiated out is your closing cost. So to give you the best shot of success, if we can find something that's been on the market at least a couple of weeks, no offers, and I can talk to the agent, we look at it, you like it, I can talk to the agent. If there's some motivation from the other agent, like, we could probably make something work. This is gonna be your highest route of success. And it's not just, oh, so you can get a deal. No. You want your buyer, you don't want your buyer to be rejected. You don't want them to go out and look at a house, fall in love with it, lose out. Go out of a house, fall in love with it, lose out. Then you look like the bad guy, when you're really not the bad guy. They're just not capable of, you know, they're not a buyer capable on these houses. You can do it a bunch of times. It's a lot of ups and downs of emotional that you're setting your buyers up for. It's a lot of losing. It's a lot, like, you want this to be as positive of an experience as possible, be as transparent as possible, be as honest and open as possible. Set the expectation, set everything correctly for success. Next slide. Any questions on that? Questions?
Not yet.
Okay.
Oh, I do have a question.
What? Okay.
So when they have a house to sell, do you ever have the conversation with them? Like, a lot of them don't want to put their house on the market until they find something to buy. Right? And then there's the other way to go, list it subject to finding suitable replacement property. How do you advise people, and how do you get them to?
This is what I do. In that situation, they want to buy, they want to upgrade, they want to downsize, whatever they want to do, they got a house. I tell them this. So you have a couple options. Can I find you a house, get an accepted offer, then list your house, sell it, and everything goes smooth? Yes, that's a possibility. But I need to identify how realistic that is. You've been looking at houses, or have you been looking at houses? You talk to your buyer, and if they see one house in 6 months that would be doable for them, you're not listing the house first. But if they tell you, yes, I'm on it all the time, there's 5 houses we want to look at, they pop up all the time, I'm telling them, when you're looking, are you seeing houses frequently that will work for you? If you do, then okay, that puts listing ahead of time more, practical. Second thing is do you have somewhere else to go? If we were to sell this thing first, do you have somewhere else to go? Are you committed to this no matter what? You're going to sell this house, however long it takes, do you have a place to go? Identify that too. If they're like, well, we can stay at our in-laws for however long it takes. Easy peasy, let's list this bad boy. You got a place to go, let's roll. But we would prefer not to if we don't have to, if we can find something. Okay, maybe we don't do that then. Hold on, let's see. How often is something hitting that you like? Often? Okay, we can do this. We can make it contingent. So I give them the options, they make the choice, whatever they feel the most comfortable with. But you let them know, what you don't want to do is just say, oh, let's just list this thing first. Let's just list this thing. And then you get it listed, and then you start looking at houses and they don't like anything, and then you get an accepted offer on theirs and we still not find anything. And now your client, you just put your client in a position where they have time pressure and they're trying to hurry up, and they're gonna end up settling on something that they really didn't want. Maybe they're gonna get buyer's remorse. It goes down a path that's not good for your client. So they don't know this stuff, by the way. They don't know this stuff. We know this stuff. We do this every day. They don't do this every day. They'll do this a couple times throughout their whole life. We do it every day. So it's our job as realtors to set correct expectations for our client so that they have the best experience and so that you can actually accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. The way, you want it to be good, a good experience. You want it to be everything to go as smooth as possible. So you're setting this stuff up for that. Does that answer that question?
Yes.
Okay. On to any more questions before I go on to this? Okay, set proper expectations for buyers, kind of touched on that. So then you want to, once you understand their capability, then you want to understand how realistic their expectations are with what they want versus what they are gonna pay monthly. Everything's set up for monthly, okay? Price of the house, I don't even really care. I only care about what the payment is. Okay, so if they tell me that they want a 4-bedroom, 3-bath on an acre out in the country, with a swimming pool that's fully remodeled, and they want to spend $2,000 a month. Instantly,
We got
Roger, we got a problem. Big time. So then, you're talking to them, you need a hard reset. This isn't a soft pedal it, no. If you're way off with your expectations, there needs to be a hard. Like you're unfolding your binder, getting stuff out for a presentation, and you stop. Close that.
Pull the binder.
This isn't gonna work. Okay, if it's that far off, but maybe sometimes they'll throw something out like that, but you do the hard reset, doesn't mean it's all over. Do the hard reset, and sometimes, like, for example, I'm in escrow on one right now. I met them at actually the open house that I did with Ronnie, on your Tulare one. So they looked at this beautiful $400,000 house, and they're like, oh, well, I'm like, what kind of payment you want? They're like, well, right now we pay $1,500, and we'd like to stay around that. I'm like, okay, well, whip out my phone real quick.
Do you have 300,000 to put down?
Yeah, I whip out my phone real quick and I'm looking at, but this is an example of somebody's expectations being way off and still works. You can still make something work, right? So I immediately open my phone, do my quick little calculator, and I'm like, your purchase price is gonna be closer to like mid 200s for that. But I think he told me between 1,500, possibly going up to 2,000. So I'm like, immediately go to 2,000. I'm like, it's like 290 or whatever, mid 200s, whatever it was, right at the time. And I told him, you're looking at probably something like that. So this is the other thing that you guys always have to remember. 9 times out of 10, 90% of the time, whatever they tell you that they're wanting up front, they're going to do more than that. They'll always do more than that. Like almost always, 90%, maybe 80% of the time.
Payment wise, you're saying.
Payment wise. So if they tell me that, like this guy told me between 15 and 2,000, right now we're in escrow, his payment's gonna be like $2,500. Like almost always, whatever they tell you up front, unless they know their numbers are real savvy, they've bought before and they've kind of dialed in on it. Like if they're like real close to reality, like maybe those are the exceptions of when they're like usually on, but usually they're not. And so in your brain, you need to understand this deal's not dead. It's not over because there's play in the expectations. Okay. What they're giving you, they don't do this every day. Remember, you do, they don't even know. Sometimes they're throwing it out because they looked at Zillow and they didn't realize that Zillow said 20% down was the payment on that. And that interest rate was based off of something from 2 months ago. Like, you don't know what the situation is, right? So you are wanting to identify where their mind's at, what they're looking for, what the price point would be for something like that, and make sure we're in the realm. If we're not in the realm, it's not over, get us into the realm. That's sometimes when you do the hard reset. I did a little bit of a hard reset on this guy. I said, ooh, 2,000. Well, something like this is completely out of the question. Like I immediately just wiped his brain. Like something like this is nothing, you know. But what areas are you open to? Tulsa's got some pretty good valuable stuff for smaller 1,200 square foot houses that are pretty clean. You know, we can probably, if I can get that, if I can find something like that, this is what's going on in my brain. If I can find something like that and I can get them up to like 2,500-ish or something like that, I think we could be in play here. There's even some Visalia stuff, if they're not too sensitive with the areas, I'm thinking, what are are you open to a fixer upper? I asked them. Are you open to something, maybe it's a little bit dated, move-in ready though, it's nice, but you know, it's not updated like this is, you know. You wanna ask those questions and you wanna see how much they're, what kind of, really, it's gonna come down to their motivation of owning a home. If they are very motivated to own a home, they're gonna be very flexible in everything.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're gonna wanna identify the area they wanna be in, the city, you know, if they're in Porterville, it's a little bit harder, we don't have that much inventory in Porterville, right? If they're looking for something kind of specific or, you know, it's a little bit hard, you go to Visalia, okay. There's a lot more to offer in Visalia, that's always great, anytime somebody tells me, we're open to Visalia and Tulare, I'm like, whoo, I'm finding them something.
Yeah.
So you wanna know the area, the must-haves, this is identifying where their expectations are, what payment they're capable of doing, and do those match up? And then adjust the expectations as needed, so you're going to explain to them the strategy. So if they're somebody that is a conventional, they're putting 20, maybe they just sold a house or they have all this money in the bank, they're gonna put 20-25% down. They have excellent credit, they have great income, good jobs, and they're wanting something beautiful and gorgeous. And they want to, it's something in your mind where you're like, this is gonna, you know, I think we may have to compete. This is where you tell them, I can definitely find you the home that you want. And if there's multiple offers, we'll beat them. We'll take them out, okay? This is where that person, you're capable of so much with the offer. We haven't even got to that part yet, what you can do on the actual offer. But we're already knowing up front, this is somebody that will find them something that they absolutely love, and we're gonna be able to get that for them. High probability chance of getting an offer accepted, even if there's other offers on the table, okay? Now, if it's somebody like we talked about before, hey, tell them up front, your best bet, this is what I would be doing if I were you. Let's look for stuff that's been on the market a little bit, and then we can go look at those. If there's no offers and no activity, like those are where we can really go for the throat. You know what I mean? Like, same thing with somebody who maybe is very capable, but is wanting a deal. I have another one in escrow. That was this guy. He was beautifully qualified, had tons of money, owns businesses, he's blah, 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 blah. Started showing him houses, he wants to lowball everything. Right? You know what I told him? I said, hey, listen, pal. You want a lowball and you want to get a deal on something? We shouldn't be looking at these. I'll tell you, this one over here, and this is me also conveying to this buyer confidence that, like, I'm not just trying to get you to do, you know, to make this deal happen. I have your best interest in mind right now. You want to go for the throat? Oh, we can go for the throat more than this. Let's go, come over here. Let's look at this over here. Oh, this one right here. Do you guys like this one? Ooh, that's blood in the water. We can do all kinds of stuff. We can come in low, ask closing costs. We can get this, we can get that. Like, come on. That's what you want to do. So now I'm like kind of guiding him, right? With the expectation. So then it came down to, yeah, we can do that on this one. And then to this other house that they really wanted, that they really liked. And he realized, yeah, I don't want to play games. I want this house. And all of a sudden that low ball and all that other stuff was, because then he'd be like, well, how low do you think we can go? I'm like, well, there's activity on it. They're expecting another offer to come through from another agent. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but that's what the agent told me. She could be bluffing, but you know, you want to roll the dice on it and lose it. I'll roll the dice on the chance of losing that, knowing that he doesn't want to lose it. But you're signaling to him the truth, the reality. And a lot of times with these verbiage and the way that you're setting these expectations and doing this stuff, it's to protect them. from themselves. The buyer themselves, if you give them enough information, it's like giving them enough rope to hang themselves with. They will sabotage it. So sometimes you keep some of the information because it's gonna hurt them if you tell them. They're gonna screw the whole thing up for you, for them. You know, so you have to understand that. So for example, if, just to make an example of what I mean with that. So say I have a buyer, he likes the house, and he's like, we really like it, you know, do you think there'd be any flexibility on the price? Then I call the agent is like, oh yeah, there's tons of flexibility, we're motivated, just send us something. In fact, here's an example, 10,000 low. I'm not going to the buyer and telling him exactly what that agent just told me. Because I know there's a decent chance that if I tell him that 10,000 low, he's gonna be like, well, shoot, let's go 30,000 low.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's gonna sabotage the whole thing and not get it. So I'm gonna keep that in my back pocket and I'm gonna say, hey, I talked to her, there's a little bit of motivation there. Now, all of a sudden, he may be thinking, well, let's go in 10,000 low. I'll be like, pushing it a little bit, I already know they'll do it, right? It's pushing it a little bit, but hey, you know, if it's meant to be, I'll roll the dice with you. We write it up, oh, they accept it, dude, you're never gonna believe it, we did it, this is great, blah, 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 it's this exciting thing, right? You can turn the exact same thing, result, you can manipulate the situation in a positive way that is gonna make the buyer feel accomplished, feel positive, feel good, feel rewarded, feel like they won. And if you, just with the way that you handle your client, you could achieve the opposite and still get the same result done. Like you could still get the house, but after you battle with them and after they feel like they couldn't get the sellers to come down any lower, then they feel like they lost and they're settling. at
Well,
that
not
10,000.
only that, if that listing agent is telling you they'll take 10,000 less, they're telling every other agent that's calling, they'll take 10,000 less. So while he's messing around and throws in a $30,000 less offer, somebody else may come in with a 10, get it, and your guy's out of line.
Exactly, that's where the sabotaging comes in.
Yeah.
Don't let the buyer control the ship. You want to be the control of the ship, you just gotta make sure they're on it.
Yeah.
So get them on board and drive it. And you can make them think they're driving. They're gonna have a little kitty wheel, they think they're driving, but really they're not. You're the one with the real wheel driving,
Yeah.
but let them think that they are.
Okay.
Okay, so we've adjusted expectations. Now we're explaining the strategy. If it's somebody that's not capable, you need to set that expectation. If their price point where they want to be is here, and what they're wanting is up here, you need to set that expectation back down to reality. So when it comes to getting your offer accepted, this is the groundwork. We haven't even talked about writing an offer yet. Because that's not the big part, that's the easy part. The easy part's the offer. The hard part is getting to the point of having a realistic shot at a property with a buyer who's willing to write an offer that is going to give you a realistic shot at getting it accepted. That's the whole idea, that's the whole goal. Next one. Sorry for snapping my fingers, I don't know why I'm doing that, it's the
You're fine. It wakes me up.
Might be that energy drink.
Getting more than
Oh, no.
It wakes me up.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's okay. It's my
Okay,
spinner
put it
now.
over there then.
It's my spinner
Oh, good, yeah, I don't want it.
now. Okay. Identify the situation with the other property. Okay, so here's the next part. You've got a buyer that's pre-qualified, you know everything about them, you know what they're capable of, you've got their expectations are set. You're looking now at properties that are fitting that expectation. You're rocking and rolling, you've done all the groundwork leading up to this point. Now, they find a house and they like it. Now what do? So this is where this is where communication is really important.
Yeah.
You really want to pull out, there's no guarantee here. This is the part that's a little bit out of your hands. Half of it's out of your hands, half of it's completely in your hands. And that is your communication with the agent.
The listing agent.
The listing agent. You find a house, they want to write an offer. You want to talk and communicate with that agent. The worst thing you can do is say, oh, they liked it. Okay, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna write the offer up and email it over. That's it. Really? You have, what? You don't know if there's other offers, you don't know if there's activity on it, you don't know if the seller is motivated, you don't know what the seller really wants, you don't know if you're in the realm of anything, you don't know if you haven't explored to see if there's an opportunity to get a better price for your client, you haven't done anything, you're just shooting in the dark, you don't even communicate to the agent, nothing. Hell, you don't even know if they got the offer, maybe you went to spam. What are you gonna do, sit around twiddling your thumbs, waiting that they're gonna reach out to you? No, no, that right there is a bad agent. Don't ever do that. That is a bad agent. How many times, if you ever had a listing where you've gotten like 10 offers, how many of those agents even call you? 2, 3? 10? Come on. Come on. And what are the chances of the ones that actually were reaching out to you? What are the chances that one of those are probably gonna get it? Probably high. Because it would be very odd to me and suspicious to me if some agent I've never spoken to on the phone sends me some amazing, beautiful offer and doesn't even call me to tell me about it. To like be like, hey, what do you gotta do? Who wrote this beautiful offer? They love the house. I mean, come on, something. You're not gonna tell me anything? You're not even gonna reach out to me? I'm gonna reach out to you now because you wrote such a beautiful offer, but you're not doing yourself any justice. And I think most of the good agents call. Gene Loze's written some stuff on my stuff. He calls me. In fact, most of the time he calls me before, I mean, I think every time he's called me before he's even written anything, just to ask me questions, just to feel me out. That's what it gets. Sarah's done that. Ronnie's done that. Jackie's done that. Luis has done that. Gunner's done, I mean, so there's a reason why you do that. You want to find out if there's any other offers, because that changes everything completely.
What do you do when the selling agent doesn't tell you? They're like, oh, it's offers there. Oh,
I've never had a listing agent.
It's so funny. Right. Yeah.
There's only a couple of them. that-
Yeah, I've never had somebody that told me nothing. They've held as much as possible, but they'll at least let me know if there's other, like. Are there any other offers? Can you at least tell me that? You know,
So they say there's not about offers about, it's good, it's
Not
not.
supposed to.
what, say that again?
About offers.
Yeah, I think it's.
Well, ethically, you're not supposed to, I don't think, Gene, no, you're not supposed to bluff about offers, right?
I agree with that, you're right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The vision is to get as much money as you can for yourself.
Yeah.
And that means, yeah, bring the offers, so we've got 2 good offers now. Some of them will say, you gotta be 310. For 310, that's not doing anything unrealistic or unfair, it's trying to get the highest. Now, most of them won't do that, especially they got to offer themselves, they won't. Share.
Yeah, okay,
They say, yeah, I've got some offers, nothing to be excited about, go away, give me 2 more days, I'll have a signature, I'll get my.
yeah, right,
And then
so,
you wanna track it, and see when it closes, who sold, if it's your listing agent, you now have a card that you wish you didn't have.
well, this is what I do. If there are gonna be any other, because it is not uncommon when they don't wanna tell you a whole lot of information, where they're trying to like evade and like keep as much of them, like that's fairly common. But they're gonna tell you something, like you're gonna at least know if there's other offers.
I think that when, I don't know, in a different market, when people are getting below, when people are getting less than full price offers, that's when they don't wanna always tell you when it is. But when they're at full price and above, they're normally gonna tell you because they want to drive that price up.
Right.
But when they have an offer and they're evasive, it's probably because it's not a great offer and they don't want you to know that.
Right.
You're not supposed to tell anything less than the asking price. The thing we signed 28 pages, 28 times in every deal is the agency descriptions. You shall not share a price less than listed price. You shall not share our buyer will pay more than $1 more than the offer. You shall not do it.
Yeah,
And realtors only are held to a code of ethics. You're dealing with licensees that aren't, they get a lot of cheap and steal because you can't take them to arbitration.
So, but this is a good part of it too. If they have the offer. If they're the agent on the offer, ask them.
yeah. Oh, if they're writing their, if they're.
If there's offers, if there are any offers. Ask, this is what I do, I ask, is it your buyer? If they tell me no, not mine, then I'll say, oh, okay, is it from your office though?
Yeah,
Yeah, it is, it is an agent from the office, then what I'll say is, gotcha, okay, am I gonna have a fair shake at this? You're putting him in the corner. And you're making it very difficult for anything like that to happen.
you're paying your lives, well,
Yeah.
Yes,
The,
exactly.
the other thing I've done with listing agents is I will say, my people only qualify for a certain amount. I don't want to waste anybody's time. Are the offers that you have above full price? And that way,
Yep.
they think,
If they try to get you to still look at it, you,
yeah, they realize I'm not just trying to beat out the offer. I'm trying not to waste your time. Well, I'm really trying to beat out the offer, but I tell them that, oh, we only qualify for a certain amount. I don't want to waste your time and come in, if,
right,
yeah.
if you're listed at 300, if you run off with 300, let's say, and we'll get back to you. If you follow, they sold it for 275, and you can see it was listing agent 275, you're calling Sarah, we're calling Reeves.
Yeah.
yeah. So. You want, so it's so crucial from the time that your buyer says, we wanna write an offer on this house, it is the most crucial thing that you can do is. Communicate with the listing agent and try to pull as much information as possible from that listing agent. That is going to kind of map you out. What it's going to take on this specific deal to make something work. Okay, are they motivated? Is there current active? Sometimes they'll just tell me, well, we got a bunch of showings, or we have 2 showings today, or well, like. That piece of information is what I used as leverage with my buyer, like, hey. They've got multiple showings here, like, hey, maybe nobody likes it from that, but they've got activity on it, we're gonna wanna move. We don't, I mean, I always use the phrase roll the dice with you. Because I'm communicating to them that it's a gamble. I'm willing to take that gamble with you, but let's make no mistake, it's a gamble. That will help you identify how much that buyer really likes that property too.
Yeah.
If they're willing to gamble and they're willing to come in low, or they're willing to, when you say the gamble thing. And they're willing to do that, that immediately tells you. They're not willing to do whatever they gotta get on this one, they're not in love with this house, they like it and work, but they're not in love with it. That'll let you know. A little bit of what you can do. You're not gonna tell that person that's wanting to throw the dice, you're not even gonna bring up some of the other things that you can do to your offer to them, because why would you? They're willing to let it go. Like as is, or, going above, or like any extra, these extra things that you can do to your offer, appraisal, waiver. I mean, they're willing to let it go. Some of those things aren't gonna work. You don't even need to bring them up to them. Okay. But you wanna find out, if it's been on the market a while, is it overpriced? That could be where an appraisal waiver is gonna be like, ooh, this seller, and then. A lot of agents don't even understand what some of this stuff is. If you don't mention it, for example, say this house, there's no activity on it, it's a bit overpriced. And you're wanting to come in at list price and you want to ask for a bunch of closing costs, or maybe you come in a little bit above or something, but that there's gonna be a problem with the appraisal. Or there could very well be a problem with the appraisal. You sell that appraisal waiver. You sell it. This is God's gift to these people right now. This is an appraisal waiver. Guess what? I already know you're like overpriced a little bit. And guess what? This isn't gonna matter in this deal with my offer right now.
Yeah.
This is your ace in the hole. And sometimes if they just see it on there, like there's some agents that won't even understand it. Maybe they don't even see it, or they see it and they're like, that means they may not even know, but you gotta sell it.
So with that appraisal waiver, do you see the benefit in maybe not saying appraisal waiver and just waiving appraisal contingencies?
Well, that's what I do with the appraisal waiver is,
But I think Luis is saying, don't tell them there's an appraisal waiver, just say we are waiving our appraisal contingency.
Because maybe that gives you the option later if your buyer does wanna do an appraisal for his, whatever, you have the option to do that.
But not really, not once you waive that contingency, then you're stuck.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're painting a scenario, if you're in a competitive situation, you're adding that as a
Incentive.
bullet in the gun, but if it doesn't appraise, if you waste that appraisal, you're putting your people at risk.
Not
Is
if you have an appraisal waiver, because they don't even do an appraisal. If the lender approves an appraisal waiver,
Okay.
It's basically
That's not
saying
like
like
this
this.
three damage.
no, he's saying with like 20 or 20.
No, it needs to be conventional 20 to 25% down to get approved for it.
I'm just saying, instead of saying appraisal waiver, just waive the appraisal.
Weighs the appraisal contingency.
You could absolutely do that, and a savvy agent, like if you were to do that on mine, my immediate question to you would be, how are you able to do that? Like, what do you mean? Are you coming in, are you gonna come in above what the appraisal comes, are you doing a gap? Like, what's the purpose? Like, how are you?
Well, they're just
That would
saying
be my
that
question.
I mean, if I see that, I know that they're just saying, we don't care what it appraises for, we're gonna pay the difference.
Okay, so that's what I would wanna hear.
Value. Negotiation. Lender may not say, I'm not giving you appraisal waiver.
No, that's why you
He's
do that
saying
ahead
you
of
do it
time.
Before.
Like you can add.
So
Yeah.
before you write the offer, you call the lender up and they'll plug the address in on that house and they'll put the price and they'll putting 20% down with that buyer, and it's an automated result. It'll say, yes, it qualifies for an appraisal waiver. Then you know before you even write the offer that that's a possibility. You don't have to do it, but it's a possibility. It's a tool in the tool bag that you can potentially pull out if your client wants to.
Because if you don't say it and you don't really tell it, the other agent might also think you just screwed up and accidentally clicked the box by, if you didn't communicate.
Right, I think it's important to communicate it, because to me, if I have a listing and I tell my seller, they're not even gonna do an appraisal. It's
That's-
not even gonna happen.
That's where it's like you sell that, that's a big deal. How often do you have a deal where there's no appraisal and it's a loan? It's not that common.
Not very often.
So when you have that capability, you sell that. That's front and center with neon lights around it. Dude, check this out.
And every,
My buyer is so good that they have such a great credit score, and they're doing conventional, and they're putting so much money down that the lender doesn't even need an appraisal.
right, it's very rarely happening, and there's more that goes into it than just the credit and the down. It also takes the property into account.
Yes, it does.
Because I think they do an automated CMA on it, and if they feel like it's way too high, they won't do the
Yes,
waiver.
so I think I'm certain that there's some sort of algorithmic data that goes into that decision making, because you can't just plug in.
Yeah,
But otherwise, then the address wouldn't matter, right?
Sales last year, where the buyer gave you that, and I didn't know what he was talking about, so you're really gonna risk your buyer's deposit over appraisal waiver, because I thought it was just check the box.
no,
But and luckily I had the seller, I was okay, but I had no idea what it was for. And
yeah.
Yeah, so you can do that and it doesn't just waive the appraisal, it's gonna save you 10 days in your escrow period.
And so you're buying the cost of the appraisal.
And also, there's no lender required repairs called.
There's no lender required repairs, exactly right. Like, there's a lot of benefits to it. The downside and the risk is like what Gene's saying. If you don't have an appraisal, then you don't know if you may have overpaid a little bit for the house or something like that. But you communicate that at the time with your client. You tell them about that. You have to be transparent. Well, it's kind of an obvious thing anyways, but you have to talk about that. Hey, we can remove this.
Yeah, you wanna talk about it up front, because what you don't wanna do is get to the end, they go, well, how do we know it's worth what we paid for it? Well, you wanna make sure they understand there's no appraisal being done. Are you
Right.
comfortable?
Appraisal, and it doesn't get loan qualified, you save the deposit still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that big a deal, say.
Yeah,
You don't get a loan, you get by the house, and subject gets a loan all the way through the offer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a cool thing though, that's a cool feature, so you already know everything about the buyer, then you find the house they want to write the offer on, then you want to create a profile of this situation that is unique. From the listing agent, you wanna pull as much information from the listing agent as possible, they're gonna tell you, okay? If there's multiple offers and they're not telling you very much. Why? Usually, then you gotta ask, is it you that has the
probably
offer?
because they wrote the offer.
They wrote the offer, or somebody in their office, and then you wanna put them in the corner, pin them down. Am I gonna have a fair shake at this, or are you automatically gonna get it? They're always gonna tell you, no, you're gonna have a fair shake about it. Nobody's gonna tell you, no, you're wasting your time.
But at least you put them on notice.
You put them on notice, you've put them in a corner.
I'm
Now
watching you.
and then you can take it even a step further. And say, okay, so I'm competing against you. How are you presenting offers?
And make sure you
When-
get a signed decline, because I've had an agent. Like, I just was not, I was super green and they didn't even present the offer, is my guess, and they refused to sign the decline.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. That's crazy.
And Anthony told me, make sure you get that signed, they signed it, I didn't think that, yeah. We have a long period.
So. You ask them when they're gonna present.
There's a question on chat, but I can't see what it is. Have you ever asked them to sign that it was presented? Yeah, I think that's what we just covered,
that's
that,
what we
yeah.
just covered. You wanna find out when they present the offer. And then you wanna say, okay. I'm gonna send it to you at this time. Or I will send it to you before then, so. If anything happens before then, please let me know. So that my client has an opportunity. I do have an offer for you. I am going to send it to you, but I wanna wait until we get a little bit closer before I give it to you. What is all that doing? It is making it harder and harder and harder for any funny business to happen. There's never gonna be 100% clear of that. But you're making it very, very difficult and you're
Making it
building
harder.
yourself a case. And you're making it, and so when you're in that situation. This is all an odds game. There are no guarantees. Everything's an odds game. Your job is to put the odds in your favor for your client. That is it. That is what your job is. Put the odds in your favor when trying to get your offer accepted, okay? So you create the profile, you have to understand everything. The way you do that is by talking to the listing agent, and you have to have consistent communication. Now, this is catered a little bit more towards the, it's on a spectrum, right? If there's multiple offers, you're gonna need to be on it more. If there's no offers and it's just the one, I'm not saying don't have communication with the agent, but you probably don't need to put as much pressure on it, you know what I mean? Like, just ask them like, hey, when are you gonna present? How quickly you think we'll hear back? And hey, let me know if anything else comes through. That'll probably do it for you. You'll hear back from them. If you're the only offer, there's no reason for them to
Just to
stall.
get highest and best, you gotta reach out with that.
Right. Exactly. So, now you're focusing on your attention on that deal. Okay, next slide. Any questions? Now comes to writing the offer. So once they find something, you find all your points of leverage, but you've talked to the agent, you found out, oh, it's an older couple. They would really value time after close before they have to hand keys over. Or it's contingent on another house, on them finding their replacement property and they found it. You're gonna wanna really be flexible with some of that. If it is people that don't wanna do anything, they're really, wanna do as little as possible. Agents will tell you that sometimes they really were hoping for as is, or they really don't wanna have to do too much. Those are all points of leverage that you can use in your offer. They have a bunch of stuff. Maybe it's a client that's an investor of yours who's got this property that's real rundown. It's got tons of junk all over the place. Maybe you're getting such a good deal that your client, maybe your buyer will be like, hey, they don't have to move that stuff. I'll take it to the dump for them. Like, find out what that is. Hey, would it be valuable to your client if they didn't have to mess with moving all the stuff, hauling the stuff up to the dump? That can be put into your offer. Okay, length of escrow. Sometimes they'll tell you they want a long escrow for some reason. Then you can look at it and say, well, what if we do 30? Let them get their money and then do like 2 weeks. That would be like what they're trying to accomplish, but it gives them money sooner. It's kind of a free way for us to get this thing closed, make them feel comfortable, make your offer look good. Right? We can, time after close or length of escrow, or if it's in the opposite, they could really like a fast one. Maybe if you're a cash buyer, identifying that they would like a fast escrow is totally capable. Your buyer's totally capable of that. Or we have an appraisal waiver. Totally capable of that with an appraisal waiver of coming down to 20 days instead of 30. If it's cash, 10 days. So. Identify those points of leverage that are gonna make your offer look good. The offer amount. If your client needs closing costs. And this house, the seller is up against the wall on that. Maybe there's some room to go up in price. To compensate for the closing costs. I just had one in Tulare. We were up against the wall a little bit. This client was really motivated. They needed closing costs though. I said, well, I feel like there's a little bit of room. I think this appraisal will be fine if we go up, can go up and compensate a little bit. We were able to make it work. It appraised at the higher amount. They got their closing costs. It was a win-win for everybody. Identify that. If you look at it and the value's already tight, then probably don't want to go that route because then you're just prolonging the negative outcome. This thing's not going to make value. Now we're back to square one. They can't give you closing costs. We have to have closing costs. This whole deal's bust. So understand that, and then items that are staying or going. So you want to, I personally like the as is because it is a fairly inexpensive way to strengthen your offer, but your buyer is still protected. Just because you put as is, you still have your inspection contingency. So technically, it almost doesn't mean anything, almost, because contractually, you can put as is and you can still ask for the world. There's nothing stopping.
Because they have a right to know what as is.
Yes, exactly.
And the property's not taken, because if you have a professional inspection, you must share it with every buyer.
Yeah.
Right.
So now you've got a broken sewer line, well, as is really didn't mean a house, it's got a broken sewer.
Exactly.
Because if I don't buy it, the next guy's gonna also not buy it.
And
Air
if you
conditioners,
include the contract
these
or
things,
something.
the garbage will log, who cares? But bigger stuff, you're gonna come back and make requests for repair on.
And this is what I tell my buyers whenever we're doing as is. I don't tell them, oh, put as is because it'll look good. And then, but we can still write whatever we want. I don't tell my client that. I tell my client, look, most of the time, when we do a request for repairs, it's piddly things that, yeah, they should be done, but they're piddly things that you could put on a honey-do list, like leak underneath the sink. Like not double stack, that would be a lender required repair, but you know, what else would be like
Light bulb.
light bulbs, light fixture, yeah, like there's a lot of little things that we are common to put into a request for repairs because they should be done. That what do we want to do? Do we want to strengthen our offer and handle that ourselves, but still be protected in case there's something major that pops up? That's what I tell them. This is going to protect you. So we're not going to nickel and dime them over a bunch of little small stuff. And then even you as the agent, this is, you don't have to do this, but I do this. I have in my mind, I have a buffer. If there's something that's smaller and my client's feeling a little sideways and not real comfortable about it, I got it, dude. I'm putting my guy on it.
And the savvy buyer is gonna ask you anyway. The one's about 4 houses from it. It's $800, come on.
Yeah.
So I don't tell them this, but I keep it in my mind that if we get to that point, I'm not sending this agent that I just wrote the offer as is, I'm not sending him a request for repairs with a couple piddly things like I just told him I wouldn't do. I'm gonna take care of that stuff. Now, if it's something major, that's different. If we've got
When it's as is, it should be a make or break thing,
yes,
right? It's either like, if they won't fix this, we're out.
right,
That's what I feel like
Hey.
it should be.
we're gonna cancel on this unless your guy's willing to do
Yeah.
this, because this
It's
is,
that big.
it's that big of a deal.
Any buyer would ask for it, like, any and everybody would expect.
And like
Yeah.
Gene said, once they know, they've got to disclose it anyway, so now everybody's gonna ask for it.
Yep, yep,
You're fun to run into the best friends, because the new buyer that you didn't get, because you couldn't compete. And they said, ask him if they got the report of the year, just, what do you mean?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ask if they got it, I
Yeah.
know it's broken sewer line, because there's a certain percent of agents will not move that report forward.
and when you're in that deal, if that deal's going to cancel, use that against the other agent to let them know, hey. You have to disclose
Oh,
this. thing.
absolutely.
You have to disclose this, so every single buyer moving forward is gonna know about this problem. You cannot hide it.
And it's only because the neighbor next door says, oh, they do that septic tank all the time. That's not official, that's a shitty name.
Right. So use this stuff, so find out all the little areas in your offer that you can make your offer look sweeter. Maybe you don't ask for the termite, you know, inspection, you just do it outside escrow, have your buyer pay $90 and have it done themselves. Now it's not, now the whole loan isn't contingent upon a clear termite report.
Right.
Maybe you don't ask for any reports. You take it as is, you do an appraisal waiver, you shorten the escrow period, like these are some things that you can do to make this offer look great. Now, if you have a buyer that is contingent, their offer is contingent on selling their house. I always tell my client, you're gonna have, you know, if there's any other offers, you're gonna have to way overcompensate.
Right.
Otherwise, look, when I go to sell your house, are you gonna, what's it worth to you to not have that buyer have a contingent sale attached to it? $5,000?
Yep, twice,
tell me.
you have twice the chance of the deals bombing, cause you
Yeah.
have two of them that have to go.
Yeah, what's it worth to you? What's that peace of mind, that security worth to you? Is it $5,000, $10,000? You tell me, okay, now let's apply this to over here, because it's gonna be the same thing for these people.
Yeah,
So you wanna set the expectation for your client that has a house to sell. With that as well, like, hey, if we're going after some nicer stuff, you're gonna have to be overly aggressive if there's any offer that hits the table. And then when there are no offers, this is also how you get your buyer to act quick, because you can say, hey, let's act and move on this really fast. Because I will tell you right now, all it's gonna take is one single offer to blow this whole opportunity out of the water, and it's over.
yeah,
As far as the deal that you could have had before that offer came through. Make sense?
makes sense.
I think that's,
That's what I
I think that.
Does anybody have any
Oh,
questions?
no, this is the last one,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry, Chris.
Now, when you've done all that, now you've written the offer, now you're gonna send it over, sell the offer. It doesn't mean that they have to, you know, really hear it or pass that information along to the sellers. They don't have to they don't have to give the letter to the seller. If you do a letter, they don't have to do any of that stuff. But it's your responsibility, representing your client, to sell this offer as good as you can, which means you need to maximize the positives in your offer and minimize the flaws. If there's down payment assistance, I don't ever even put it in there. I've been told I don't have to put it in
Probably
there.
does.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna say that. If they're qualified, if their debt to income ratios are really good. Probably gonna talk about that, like, hey, their DTI at this price is like 41%.
I
We're
think,
solid.
I think the other thing that needs to be pointed out is if you have shortened inspection periods.
Yes.
Because a lot of agents don't even look, the listing agents, they don't even see.
Mhm.
They go through the offer, they look at the price, and they don't see all the important things, so
Yes,
I think that's
yes.
so important.
Yes, it seriously is, so, I didn't used to do it, well, I've been doing it for a while now. But, in the email, I'll hit the high points in my email. And I'm seeing other agents are starting to do that too, a little bit more frequently than before. But anything positive and extra that you're doing that's not a default. Put it in and make it very easy. Don't put this big long blockchain paragraph of, you know, when you send your email, make it nice, short, sweet, and do a couple bullet points on some of the things on it. So it's very easy. They can instantly see exactly what everything is and put all the positives that are in there. Call the agent. Don't ever submit an offer to an agent and not call them. You call them. To let them know, all right, I've got something coming over to you. If you know have any issues, Gene's done that. Hey Chris, I got an email coming over here or an offer coming over to you. I've got this and this in it, but I'm telling you, I've talked to my client, you know, if that's gonna be an issue, we can, there's potential flexibility there, whatever, like. Make that call, have that open line of communication. It's harder to deny you whenever you have a good positive, connection and communication with the other agent. And you're ensuring that they're getting the offer, ensuring that if there's any feedback that you haven't, you're talking to them on the phone, they can easily, very conveniently give you that feedback. If there's gonna be an issue or problem, they can easily give that to you right up front, and then you can address it on the phone right then and there. Like, and then You want to be engaging the whole time. You wanna know when they're presenting, we kind of already touched that too. Where you wanna consistently follow up, you wanna be clear on when the expectation is for presenting. Where you're at in it, ask them, I'll call and ask if there's multiple offers and I sent one over, and then. If they're gonna, present the next day, right before they're gonna present, like if they're gonna present this evening today, I'm calling around noon, lunchtime. Hey, just letting hey, just wanted to check in with you, did you get any more offers? Oh, you did? Okay, where am I stacking, man? Do I have a shot? Come on, tell me, come on. Do I have a shot? How am I looking? No? Okay. Hey, guys, hey, we're like third. We need to really make this thing better. What do you think? What do you think? 10 grand? 5 grand? Yeah, you feel comfortable doing something? What do you want to do? You want this? And you can blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden they're gonna go present at 5 o'clock and at 3 o'clock. How we looking now? Call them. How we looking now? Sent you over a new one.
Yeah, make sure they got that new offer.
Yes, yes. And you don't wanna do it too last minute, cause a lot of times they're printing them off, they're doing next sheets, so you be respectful, give a little bit of time. So they can be prepared for it. But so that's why I like to kind of communicate with them and tell them, hey, this, I'm gonna have something over, how much time you need before, yeah, that's it. Any questions?
I think the only thing that I would add is that make sure that what you are telling the listing agent is true.
Yes.
Do not tell them untrue things, because in the big scheme of things.
We're
that's-
realtors, come on.
Yeah, but that's gonna ruin a relationship. If you're like, oh, they're putting X amount down and they, you know what I mean, just, you could. Huh, but make
Yes.
sure it's like, don't flat out lie.
Yeah, don't lie. Oh, we're not asking for anything. This is as is, and then here, we want this GFCI and the sink area
Yeah,
needs to be
yeah,
replaced.
Yeah,
We need some caulking around the toilet bottom.
yeah,
Don't do that,
exactly.
because then in the future, yeah, it's not gonna mean anything.
Thank you so much, Chris. That was awesome.
My pleasure.
Very good. That was a nice presentation you did.
Not bad, huh?
Did good.